Hello everybody and welcome to Play Dicely After Party. My name is Denny Dicely and this is the talkback show where we, the cast of Play Dicely, talk about our recent episodes. So today we'll be covering 3 of those, that being episode 23, Shanties in the Fog, episode 24, The Shambling Island, and episode 25, Capping the Story. Unfortunately, we are without our usual host today, Christy, so I'll be the one sharing the questions with our cast. And we covered these 3 episodes with many of our cast already, but Logan and Anthony weren't able to make that, so it's part 2, baby! Hello, everybody.
Hello.
What are you going?
Good. How's that for the energy you were looking for?
That is precisely what I was looking for, Danny.
Pristine energy, even.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and Logan joins us from a location that is not his usual space. So
I'm in a hotel today.
For fun, right?
Oh yeah, totally. Just went to Windsor, Ontario for fun.
Oh, well, we're glad you could make it. I mean, these episodes were very Azariah centric, so we had to get your input in this at some point.
No thoughts had empty.
We will
Very
pry those
well
thoughts
then.
from you one way or another.
Very well then, so I shall open it up with, since Azariah had empty, I will open this up to the floor with the first question. What were your first impressions of Cap, our guest played by Jesse Beam over these 3 episodes? Perhaps
Oh,
we'll
I
start
loved
with,
him.
we'll start with Anthony, go Ryan, and then Logan.
Yeah, it was great. It was so fun to have a guest on. When you announced that we were having a guest, and then when we found out that who it was, I was like, oh yes, because at that point, I had already worked with him on AI Dungeon Crawlers and in partially in Legends of the Museum. So I already knew that he was a great storyteller. So to have him join us was just super great. So, yeah.
I was stoked. I mean, I knew that you kind of teased us a long time ago that we were gonna have guests, but when it actually happened, I still wasn't quite prepared for it. And then he showed up in costume, and I was not prepared for it. And it was just it was a great time all around.
Yeah, I was super excited to have a guest on. I think the character, the second he started, I was like, I love this character. I'm like, how on earth is our group going to get along with this man? I was like, our group is just a bunch of goody two shoes. And I was like, this is a swashbuckling tyrant right there. But so much fun to have him here.
Yeah, it totally all worked out despite his roguish archetype.
Yeah, he ended up fitting in really well with the group, and I think it kind of maybe changed some of our characters' perspectives on things. Definitely pushed us in a direction that we maybe would have not gone with had we never met Cap. I don't know how we would have gotten to the island without him. So,
hired an actually working ship, probably.
where's the fun in that, though?
It would have been actually a safer voyage. We wouldn't have fought anything. They would have had preparations in place to not deal with those Sahuagins jumping on board.
Yep.
You know what? You make a good point, though, Anthony, that anybody else probably wouldn't have wanted to go into the fog.
It's true. We all would have had to learn how to sail.
Mhm.
Wait.
Which in itself would have been an adventure. Also, Jesse told me he was going to come in costume, and I completely forgot. So when he did that reveal too, I was like, oh yeah, oh, this is great. But I think because I was on my track of I am in DM mode, I was like, I'm not supposed to be surprised. I'm surprising you guys.
You could be surprised too. That's allowed.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, even in DM mode.
I find that's when I get surprised the most in this game.
Yeah, don't we surprise you all the time by not following the story and talking amongst ourselves?
No, it's all predictable. I have perceived every possible outcome, and you're all falling into my trap.
Yeah, players surprise me all the time. And I'm like, oh, glad I didn't write that.
Yeah. Yeah, players surprise me all the time. Wow, they're really going for this carrot as easily as I thought they would. Well, yeah. Oh, Cap was a great addition to these episodes. I'm so glad Jesse was able to join us, and hopefully I can wrangle up and make sense of having more guests in the near future. But let us press on with now a pointed question to Logan. And of course, the questions I got have come from Christy, so keep Christy in mind when I ask this. I've been asked to ask you about your plan to make Nell a research assistant. This was something that was very meaningful to Christy and Nell, so what made you decide to take this route? And tell us a bit more about why you did this.
I think it was just like, I think with like magic and everything, Nell is still very like, just lacks confidence and stuff. And so I was kind of just like, Nell, you're good at the things you do. And you expressed interest in like being a teacher or like a librarian. So I was like, I have an in at the Institute, normally like looking at so like Denny had written up a document that's like things about the Arcanet Institute. And it kind of talked about how like in my position, like for things like research assignments and stuff, I could like, get resources from them or get like a student who would be like learning with me. And I was like, oh, that just seemed like the perfect like opportunity to help Nell see if maybe like this is actually where she does see her future going, like something with the Institute. But also I'm just like, part of it was like, let's just like up the morale a little and stuff. Like, you got this, Nell. Believe in yourself.
Yeah, I suppose the episodes before that, there had been some highs and some lows, and we were just coming out of a low, so it was like a perfect, an additional thing to kind of bring the spirits back up.
Yeah, a low that I didn't even realize everyone was going for. I was hungover still at the hotel.
Yeah, it was unfortunate that we didn't get some of the conversations with Azariah because I had to play you for a little bit, but I mean, I'm sure some of those kind of conversations, they've even kind of begun to come up a little bit in the game again, like some of those discussions about dragons, and yeah, it got pretty deep in some of those ones where you were gone. But yeah, no, Christy loved getting that student card, so it was a great idea, Logan. I'm glad we were able to work on that. And for Anthony, can you talk a little bit about the song you wrote for about Ganray?
Oh yeah, sure. So yeah, one night after one of our games, I was just like lying in bed and I was like, man, I love sea shanties. What if I just wrote one? And it just kind of came very naturally to me. Like immediately I had the melody in mind. Immediately like the words were coming out and I was like, man, this is so great. I get to play D&D with my friends and it's a wonderful experience every time. And why not write a song about feeling comfy with the people you play with? So I did.
It's such a beautiful song too. And like, it's so touching to me too that you were inspired to write something from this experience. And Anthony knows this, but the rest of you have not yet had a chance to hear this, but we've actually been I've been recording this song and trying to make it into a little something more. At some point I'll get back to it and make it a bit more, but yeah, no, even what we've got right now, it's like, oh, I love this song so much that you've made. It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful
Only gonna
song.
get better.
Hey, Teni, if you need any background vocals, you know where to find me. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? It's
Everyone
probably not
has
a
to do
bad
vocals.
idea. Yeah. We've got plenty of singers in this group. Like I know Logan sings, Ryan sings, Anthony, you sing too, yes?
Yes.
Perfect.
I
Christy
guess
sings, Dallas
everyone
sings.
but Adam.
And you know what? I feel like he probably
Adam
could.
could
He
do
just
the
doesn't
bass.
consider himself a singer.
Yeah, I bet he
Yeah.
could.
Okay.
I bet he could.
Shanties aren't hard. Anyone can sing a shanty.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, we got to get on this project then.
Yep.
I'm down.
Yeah, it is a beautiful song. And Ryan, you joined us for the last talk back on these 3 episodes, but I have inserted some questions for you since I knew you were going to be here.
Oh, thank you.
knowing what we know about firearms in this setting, did Gideon have any thoughts about Cap owning a pistol? And considering he might have had an unlawful background and was suspicious of your status with D&R?
I mean, the moment that he was suspicious of any form of authority, I was like, so he's a criminal. All right, great. And then I was like, I don't know how big of a criminal he is. But then when he brought up DNR, I was like, I haven't seen contracts, but I haven't been to that many branches. So I bet there are people after him, which is why I brought up Patience. I was like, look, if Patience is after you, you're in deep trouble. But in the day, how he got the firearm, unfortunately, we didn't get to like describe it much. I don't know if it was like an older or a newer model, but depending on the age of it, it could be a family heirloom, or it could be something he stole from someone, or that's what I reckon. I reckon he stole it from somebody, but
That's fair.
yeah, I reckon he killed someone, took their gun, but you know, hey, Cap Calhoun.
Yeah, because in the lore that you and I have worked on, we know that a lot of people typically have guns because they're associated with D&R, but even in your case, I believe yours was handed down from your dad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, though guns have only existed for 50 years, it's not like every gun has to be owned by DNR, but yeah, Cap's clearly a little shady.
Yeah, it's very clear that he's had some run-ins with the law.
What are you talking about? He's an upstanding citizen. It's our good boy Cap.
Great.
An upstanding citizen, a very astute businessman with very, very rock-solid prices that never change, ever.
Fits right in with the Honest Apes.
Oh, the seekers of a new name. Oh wait, there it is. So those are all the questions for episode 23 that Christy has given me. Do any of you want to talk about anything particular about that episode before we move on? I mean, there were a few things, like the fog, old Lone Eye.
I just want to say I loved your shanty about Lone Eye actually getting to be sung. That was wonderful. I loved how eerie that was. Because like reading the words, I'm like, this is gonna be eerie. But then hearing the words proper, I was like, that's spicy. That's a good old ghost story right there. I am excited. Yeah,
I like the way it was presented as well, because it was, these people in a tavern singing it, but they're still in a tavern having a good time, so they still enjoy singing the song, even if the subject matter is a little creepy. So it captured the essence of what I envisioned Ganry to be like very well.
Yeah, I kind of got vibes of like Northwest Passage from that sort of song.
Yeah.
Like, the Franklin expedition that disappeared, all that stuff, right? And that folk song it's beautiful, but it's terrifying when you really look into it. But yeah, people sing that fairly regularly in like sailor places,
Yeah,
it was
that's a common
folk song
one.
for a reason.
Sailor places? You mean ships?
Yeah. I don't know
Sailor
where
places, or the bar at York University.
marinas. That's what I was looking for. I was looking for marinas and mariner bars and wherever sailors hang out. I'm not a
Me and
sailor.
my family are taking a bunch of tickets to go take a sailor place in the Caribbean.
Dude, don't you love when you sound like you know what you're talking about until the last word of your sentence and you just completely throw everything you just said out the window? God, that happens to me so often.
Look,
Oh.
my credibility.
There it goes.
There you go. Someone quick grab it.
Speaking of credibility, I just realized that Ryan's cut off at the bottom of his cam. Oh, I'm a freaking genius.
I'm cut off. Say what?
I
Oh,
mean,
look
just like at the very bottom of your cam. Ugh.
That's okay. Hey,
I can't tell, so you're
I
fine.
can't tell either.
I know, I'm just so nitpicky about this stuff.
Yeah,
Anyway.
if you had said nothing, nobody
know.
would have noticed this.
I know. There are things that are wrong all the time and they just slip past me. But when I see them, I'm like,
Now I'm staring at it.
ah,
Look at it.
yeah. I know. Hold on. Give me a sec.
Oh, I literally just thought that was part of his weird noir
Background,
background.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, my investigator's office background. Ugh, that was paired so lovely with Tim Tabletop's music.
Oh,
Oh, actually, no, it wasn't because I forgot to change it.
Yeah, you were in a swamp. It was a noir swamp scene.
There's some noir swamp scene. Oh God, the credibility. Where is it going? Oh yeah.
The heck? Oh, I know why. Okay.
The other thing I loved about Ganry was the characters in the bar that Cap kept picking on. That cat,
Yeah.
the tabaxi. Oh my gosh, this poor cat. They're just chilling.
Poor Bone Claw.
I was
Poor
like half
Boneclaw.
expecting at the beginning that Boneclaw was like one of the people on his boat, and that's why he was
Yeah.
picking on him so much. I was like, nope, just as a townsfolk that he's picking on.
Yep.
Honestly, like that, I was very proud of myself for that one, because that was an NPC that Jesse had just like created on the spot, and I was like, fill the void.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
it definitely felt that way, but you did it so well that it seemed like it was always there. It was always meant to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only people in there I had prepared were Jolly the bartender and Jesse, of course. So everything else
Yeah.
was just whatever happens.
It was great. I loved
Well
it.
done.
Mm-hmm.
What else from 23? It was cool meeting that. Well, Drac didn't meet them. I don't think actually any of us went
Any
to
of
go
these
meet
three.
with the dwarf where we
Yeah.
got the sheet music. But
Yeah.
that was a cool character, seeing like the history of the world kind of coming forward and meeting someone who clearly had an impact way back when, kind of coming to the end of their life and passing the torch to their kid. It's a nice moment.
They almost
Yeah.
beat the shit out of Cap. You know, it's great.
Yeah, it's like always interesting because the world is in like so many ways so new and also so not new. So it's like so much of this is like, yeah, 50 years to establish all these things and stuff. But then it's also like, oh, there are people who like either nearing the end of their lives or like just like one generation away from like, oh yeah, they were on the surface before everyone got pushed away.
Yeah.
And then there's me, 600 years old. I'm like, I'm old.
Would have been really interesting for you to have met that dwarf, because that would have been like, I wonder if like you two would have had stories that lined up with each other, you know?
Maybe. We'll never know
Well,
until we meet another dwarf about to die.
Well, that's right, because you'd spent that night creating your first military treaties.
Yeah.
Abe.
Yeah. How to help
What?
Abe do more damage.
So Logan's got, as this homebrew class we've made, he has
right.
the class has the ability to create this book that they can give to somebody every morning they just give it a quick read over because it's so dense and so knowledgeable. And I believe, what was it? It adds a +2 to their damage with a specific type of weapon?
No, it gives them proficiency with the weapon and they can re-roll ones.
Right.
So I was thinking of like giving it to Christy, but Christy already re-rolls ones. And then I was like, okay, hey. As a joke, I was like, I could give it to Alwyn and then give Alwyn the proficiency with great swords or something that she absolutely cannot use. But if she could, she'd know how the fuck to swing one.
You know,
Oh,
That's-
that's so funny.
that ability works really well for daggers too, because it's like you're good to basically roll more than half the damage die every time.
Yeah. Oh, that's like clever.
Too bad none of us use daggers.
Yeah, none of us use daggers.
None of you are roguey. There was
No.
I mean,
there was a
I
glint
use
of
darts a lot.
that. Oh,
Sorry, you use what's a lot?
Darts.
Oh.
But I feel like my action is better spent casting a spell, usually, or using my breath weapon than it is throwing a dinky dart at something.
Maybe I'll become a rogue and,
There you go.
at my retirement when I go and join Cap on his boat.
Yeah.
you know, I feel like that was something at the beginning of the campaign. That was when we were coming up with character concepts. I think that was one of the first ones you pitched, Logan, was like being a tiefling rogue.
Yeah, I was going to play a rogue and then I was like, I don't even know what. I saw like a image on Twitter that then gave me the inspiration for Azariah. It was still a tiefling that I actually saw, but it was like a fey tiefling thing. They had all this like wooden horns and stuff. And then I was like, ooh, what if I'm like a wood person? And here I am now. Part wood, part person.
Interesting. So, I guess a question for you, Logan, then. Was the Learned already something that Teni had ready to go, or did you guys do that for this campaign? Because
we did that for this campaign. I was like,
okay,
because we had such a large group of us, I was kind of like, I just want someone who like, I don't have to take a lot of time in combat, and I can be a bit more supportive to like help give like other people the spotlight. So I was like, oh, let's make a class that's like about supporting people. And then Dallas was like, let's make a subclass about supporting people.
I was like, God damn it, you two, making me make the same thing.
Same thing in different ways, though.
Yeah, they're different flavors still, but they have that support.
Mm-hmm.
One's
They're
pepper,
both
one's
super
paprika.
cool.
Oh,
Because I remember you mentioning, Teni, that one of like the old heroes was also a Learned.
yeah. So, yes, in the lore of the story, and like anybody who has like a history proficiency would probably know this. There were like the three heroes who discovered like the city underground. They were Faye Applebutter the Learned, Kardrak Mithrilcote the Devout, and Pascalis the Brave. So there were those three pillars: the Brave, the Learned, and the Devout, that were kind of these great heroes. And so that has kind of carried on, and that's what this class is named for.
So you know, if I die, that I'm going to make you make another homebrew class that's the Devout, and then if I die again, it will be the Brave.
In this case, I'm just gonna like slip you a piece of paper and be like, "Yes, here's the Devout. It's
Paladin.
just cleric."
Yes,
So
here's
the Brave is
the
just
fighter.
fighter, Paladin, Barbarian. Pick your choice of person who hits things with things.
I just railroad you into rogue and just be like, "Yes, the Devout, the rogue class. Ah, you want to be the Brave? Ah, the rogue class."
You're a very brave thief.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's all I had for 23, though. If anyone else had anything.
I thought the fight on the boat was super cool. Like, I love fights that like there's an environmental thing you can use. And I mean, Cap like used the boat so cool, just like cutting it and swinging across. But also just yeah. But even having things like the ballistas there is like, because I was like, oh shit, like some of us don't have like great ranged options. Like there's something to like fight them when they got into the water. Yeah, I love boats. Everyone knows that.
Oh yes.
Sailor places, I love them.
So yeah, I love those sailor places. People.
Sailor places, dude. I love boats because like, especially as Gideon, right? Like I can just hop up in the crow's nest and have basically my pick of the litter of who I want to shoot. Just get a big height advantage, and yeah, I do not have to worry about cover at all, basically, unless they're at like the other ends of the ship. Yay, sight lines. And then also, you know, like kicking people off the ship. Oh, it's so cool. You know, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, that crit that Dallas and I got was so amazing, so cinematic,
So juicy. Ugh.
Yep.
And it wasn't even Ella when it was sevens she was rolling for.
Yeah, it was sevens.
Yep. Sevens did great in that fight.
I think
And that seems to be a theme. Is like some of our best rolls are when we're not playing ourselves.
Definitely true in my case.
Unless you're playing the sad child.
Yeah.
I think every time a Sahuagin tried to jump off the ship and retreat, you guys just like got the kill on them as they were leaping into the water.
Yep.
Ugh. Juicy. Anything more for session 23?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Very well. Then we will move on to episode 24, The Shambling Island. If you guys think of anything at any point, feel free to just throw it in. We can go back. So starting off with Logan on this one. So the last session ended with the ghost dragon like taking the ship underwater and bringing you inside this island made out of vegetation. So for Logan, what was it like to explore this dungeon and interact with a bit of the druidic history, like the Statues of Ro, for the first time in this campaign?
Oh, it was so cool. Like, man, everything about that dungeon, I was just like so, both as like a player and like a character, just blown away with. Because I think there's like, especially as we started to like also interact with all those like weird like funguses and like weird death pods that like kept floating towards us. There's like this like, there was less like sadness of just like, oh, this place I was so excited to be at is like just dying. Like, things are worse than we thought they were going to be. But yeah, it was like really neat to see things for like things from my history and stuff, and to see like because as I like just written, like just, you know, I mean just now, it's been like a long time, but had written those like druid, you know, ideas and stuff, seeing stuff of that coming up in here, and finally having a name for my gods, because I did not name them. I was like, no, that's too much for me.
Yeah. And of course, Christy throwing me under the bus, being like, what are their names? And I'm like, I've got 3 out of the 4 of them. So I was like, well, it's not too hard. I can, and I figured it out in the moment too. So I was like, oh, perfect. That's their names. Yeah,
it's interesting also, like with that, like that realization of like Vishti and Drax God, and it's like, okay, like, you know, I think one of the things that Teni had asked me was like, with the druid beliefs, what is like Azariah's beliefs of the ascendancies, like gods and stuff? And I kind of was like, yeah, I don't think they're all right, but I don't think they're all wrong. Like, I think that, like, you know, there's truths in like everyone's thing. And I think that's kind of like seeing that there, like there's probably overlaps within my beliefs and your beliefs with this god. And just like one of the things that like the druids belief is kind of like, yeah, there's like more importance is sometimes given to certain gods and other people's beliefs. And like that's how I kind of like view this, like cultures that like have like a singular god. It's like, oh, okay, they've like taken one of our gods, one of, as I believe, the true gods, but we'll see what the real world's like as we unfold the story. And just like given more importance to them.
Yeah, it's been really cool seeing like all the interconnectedness. That definitely seems to be like an ongoing theme of this campaign, is how different cultures intersect, and I love seeing it happen. It's very cool. So kudos to you, Teni, for weaving the threads, so to speak.
Yeah, I have literally nothing to add to that. You both said everything that my brain possibly could have thought of there. So, you know, give yourself a little thumbs up for me.
Well, then I will bring it back to the whole group here. The next question I've got is, when you guys entered the dungeon, or were brought in here with the what ended up being an air elemental, I had everybody roll wisdom saving throws. Unknown to you at the time that the DC was 18, and only Abe succeeded by rolling and meeting that number. And this caused everyone to feel a bit of an anxious pull to go deeper into the Enclave. How did you all feel when you discovered that a short rest wasn't going to be possible?
I was scared.
I felt that death was on our horizon. I was like, oh fuck, we're screwed. I was like, there's no way. I was like, Teni didn't expect us all to fail this. We all just rolled once, because like we didn't know the DC at that point, and all our rolls were awful. The DC could have been 10, and I think we would have been in the same situation.
Yeah.
Like, so I was like, oh shit, we're so fucked. We've got to be really clever about this. And then as we continued on, and I feel like all of our fights that we encountered kind of just went a little worse than we expected them to. I was like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? So I'm glad that we had the foresight to check everything before going into the obvious, like, there's something bad in here room.
Yeah. That was very obviously like the big boss door in a Zelda dungeon, where we had the key and we opened it, and there was like, wait,
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, we had to go find the jars that had fairies in
Go
them.
smash some
Yeah.
pots. My pots.
No.
Remember, we couldn't pick anything up, Teni. Had to.
Yeah, that's
We
right.
were going to avoid all the magic items. We're just exploring for exploring's sake, and we happened to find stuff.
If any
Yeah.
pots got smashed, there'd be some in-character conversations to be had.
Yes.
Bad.
You can take the magic items, don't smash their pots.
Don't do it. Need a magnet on a string so we can fish stuff out.
Do you, when you guys came to this realization, because it almost came to the point where you guys got off the ship after fighting Sahuagin, and like you began to explore within that main chamber where the ship was, and we're like, maybe we should take a quick or a short rest. It was at that moment I was like, they're gonna find out. This is great. They're gonna go ahead, calculated and understanding of what is in play here. But then you
Nope.
guys pressed on, and I was like, uh-oh.
Well,
Did you think
I-
there, once you did find out that this was the situation, did you think there would be no way to take that short rest?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that it was like, oh, cool. There's gonna like, this is gonna be a real like brain thinker fight that we'll have coming up, and we're just gonna have to be real careful going forward. And after we found that out, because I think it was after that like Christy got knocked out.
Yep.
So I was like, well, that was the point where I think everything for me, I was like, well, we're fucked. There
Yeah.
goes being careful. That and like the first trap that we
Yeah.
set off, I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
only
had a similar mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Crit-
once Nell went down, I had to use, a spell slot to bring her back. And then I was down to just like, I think 3 left. And then I used another one after that. So I only had 2 spell slots from after we fought those trackers or whatever they were, the pools of creatures.
Mhm.
So I was just playing it super safe from there on out. Thankfully, didn't need the spell slots in the end. We'll get
were-
to that.
We were quite fortunate.
Yeah, I thought originally, Denny, that the fact that we couldn't take a short rest was, it obviously was by design, but I thought that was going to be like, yeah, we won't get one. There's no way that we can, because that's the only way that the fight coming up will be difficult for a party of 7.
Oh, it's more like I hope you guys learn like it pays to explore everything.
Mm-hmm.
Though that
Yeah.
being said, there were a few rooms that got missed, but honestly, you didn't need them, so it kind of worked out.
Oh, yeah, because there was like another set of stairs that we never went.
Up, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, out of that first room with the statue of Ro. Like
yeah,
where-
like the Sahuagins had like a little campfire or something set up, I think.
Oh, yeah, and that way, yeah, that led out to like the surface of the island.
And where did the one away from the first statue lead? Because there was like that purple glow, right?
Yeah, so you guys went towards the purple glow right out of the room. Going north out of that room, it would have taken you like through some like dormitory rooms, so like some beds and stuff. There would have been more fungus, so it actually was to your betterment that you didn't go that way. There would have been a main, like a keeper of the shrines room. And in that room was the key for the chest that contained the mariner's armor, but Jesse was a rogue, so it was like, okay, well, you don't need that room either. Blended.
Nice.
Fantastic.
But
Mhm.
there was a way to get that chest open either way, so.
So, did we get everything from the dungeon?
You guys did a pretty good job, considering, like, all the treasure that I'd kind of put around, I think was found, so, yeah.
Hell yeah.
And we even found the rotting food, the most important treasure.
Hell yeah.
Going to Anthony now, and we were almost a perfect segue, but to trace back to what we were talking about a little earlier, what was Drax's side of the moments when he had to scold Nell after the ooze fight, just to kind of gain some insight on what was going through his head? It was a very tense situation.
Yeah. Drac felt like, all of us had, tried and failed so far to like pull Nell out of the ooze. It was very comical actually watching all of us just continually fail to be strong enough here. Thank goodness for Cap. Bless him. But yeah, it just felt like after Drac had brought her back and she had that surge, and then it was immediately asking someone to like sock her in the stomach. It felt like she was wasting the, second chance that Drac had given her. And I think probably, like, looking back on it now, I myself was antsy to keep going, which also plays into the fact that Drac was antsy to keep going too, so just didn't want to wait around any longer than he had to, because the place was freaking him out. Just felt like death down there,
And also, we were in hour 5 out of 6 for that session. So, yeah.
Yep.
Do you think, based on that event, that Drac would reconsider any healing in the future, or would he be more strategic? Excellent.
No. He's made a vow to the party to keep them alive, so he will do so. But
he's a good man.
If you waste that healing, he's gonna get mad at you.
That's fair.
Yeah, spell slots are limited.
Yeah.
So after you guys got Nell out of that situation and found that amulet that had been there, activated some traps, you guys continued up through that hallway, and you found that weird library. I mean, this was mostly like a big discovery moment for Elowen, but I mean, we were in that room for quite some time, so I'm sure we got the most out of it from your guys' character perspectives. But did you guys have any thoughts about that weird room?
Yeah, it was just like everything felt way too out of place there. Like, just because I think, what was it, like a metal door or something? Like, I was like, oh, what's going on? Who's like totally like, at that point I was like, okay, there's like something bigger going on here than finding that book. Which I think I was the one who went and grabbed right away. Everyone's like, let's be careful. And I was like, because also I think we were getting like well into the session at that point, like even quite a few hours. And I think twice now it had been like kind of like you feel that pull. So I was like, cool. I'm just like, that pull is going to make me be a bit more impulsive with things. I was like, I see a book, let's read the book. I was, part of me was expecting the room to be a mimic. It was so out of place. I was like, this room's going to kill us all. It's a monster. It's going to eat us. Let's open its book.
Its book is just its uvula.
And from the previous campaign, Logan is very well aware that I guess Ryan would be too, aware that there are parchment mimics.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
From the fact that our friend Jason, who was a Dora the Explorer clone, had a map mimic.
And there's a way to befriend mimics then. Because his mimic didn't eat him, just ate other things.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, so you guys didn't get eaten by the room.
That's good.
No, just got scared by the room.
Yeah.
Everything was just slightly wrong.
Really was. It was so creepy.
Love...
How does Rhea feel about someone being able to like create a space that is so kind of heretical to druids within an enclave?
I mean, I think everything about that space just made them really uncomfortable. The fact that, clearly was not like someone had like altered this place drastically, but also like all the information in it was slightly off. Like everything was just slightly twisted. Like was it Brill Bar by Nights was just about like the nightlife of Brill Bar. Like it was just all these small things that I was like, okay. Part of me was like a little like worried that like that room, like something about it was going to start altering our like memories of the world or something. Like that information maybe there was like actually true, and the Nights by Brill Bar by Nights, maybe like leaving that room would be that book. I was like, oh, what is this place? And then seeing its connection to Dallas's backstory and this stranger in shadows thing that now we know more about. I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, that thing's gonna fuck us up hard. It's gonna alter our realities or something.
Yeah, that connection from like the creature that we end up fighting and its ability to eat memory probably ties into this weird library room as well, right? So I wonder if the memories being drawn from the creatures that it had clearly killed in its like lair when we fought it, maybe some of those memories ended up in that library.
That is an awesome theory. I thought it had something memory related. Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off though, Ryan. What were you gonna say?
I don't remember.
Oh,
That's all good. Oh, I remember. I was just gonna compliment Denny on the narration for the like whispers in Elwyn's head from the book. I was like, that was such a neat way to do that, and it captured that feeling so well. I was like, fuck, I can picture this. It was really, really neat. Yeah.
And then just to confirm, Denny, in the book itself, Elwyn saw the letters L-A-T with a bunch of like redacted scratches and then the Eye of Fear, right? That was
Correct.
in the book?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that is what was written.
Big scary.
I don't like it.
Alright.
I'm not a fan of that, but I'll tell you that.
Don't like it.
Well, you don't have to like it. You just got to play. I appreciate it if you did, but welcome to the game.
I did.
I've got a question for Ryan.
Okay.
So, I didn't actually bring this up until the following episode, in episode 25, but I revealed to you that the electricity conducting gems in that central room that needed the trident, that they were the same type as the gem in your glove. Did you have any thoughts or theories about that revelation?
I was wondering if I strutted through there on my own, would I survive?
It's a good question. You probably would have.
Neat. And then it also, I believe you said that the power that those things were sort of firing around, like, yes, it was electricity, but it was like hyper cool, or like it was very cold. Yeah. And I was like,
Yes.
okay, good. I was worried because I made a joke about Cap becoming a popsicle or a capsicle, and I was like, I hope I didn't fuck that up. So yay, I didn't.
That's the most important part of this, not like the character choices, just that the jokes land.
You know, now you
jokes.
know how my brain works.
Did the lore of my joke make sense? Oh, God.
These are real Gideon questions. I'm just gonna make really dumb jokes. It's gotta be.
I mean,
But yeah, it also makes me think for the future. It's like, are we gonna find different kinds of these gems at the different enclaves? And if so, I've come to bargain. I would like to acquire these infinity gems and equip them all at the same time with a giant glove with just a bunch of gems in there. 1d4 fire, 1d4 cold, 1d4 lightning, all in the same gunshot.
God.
That'd be very cool.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Just like prismatic bullet.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so it was Marimus who gave me the thing. So now it makes me think like
Where did he get it?
What's his business with that? And how did he acquire that? He seems to have his fingers in a lot of different pies, and I am very very curious about him. I don't trust him.
I will, in fact, also say that even before Maramis gave you that is not the first time you've seen these gems in the campaign.
Say what now?
Are they the ones that power the railway?
Bam!
Oh, bam zoom. Snap, dude.
Bim bam boobity bop.
Oh my god.
Bop, boop.
Okay. Wow, you're blowing my mind here. Okay. That
So where
explains
did the
Maramis
Ascendancy
then.
get them? Does Rhea know where the Ascendancy gets them?
We'll find out next session.
Okay.
Maybe
Oh.
the Ascendancy has some kind of way. Maybe those gems are from the plane of water. So maybe the Ascendancy has some kind of way into that. Working theory. Tinfoil hats on. You know. We know the disclaimer.
Like maybe it's like my thought is that because there's like the like ley lines throughout the world and stuff, and there's like the areas where like multiple of them converge, that maybe it's just mining underneath those areas. Like you find, because like magic is so concentrated there, it affects the geology, the rocks.
Yeah, that's a good theory.
Yeah.
I like it.
I get the
I
feeling
like
we're
it,
going to see more of these
Picasso.
rocks.
Yeah, I'm kind of like,
more of these rocks.
speaking of like you like getting like a little like gem at each like temple, like I'm kind of hoping there's like a piece of armor and I could be like all decked out in druid gear that I get from each one.
He's so funny.
So you've got
Doesn't
the
even need to
Mariners
do something, just
plate.
like thematic stuff like, ooh, this
You
is
got the
pretty.
Mariner's armor.
Yeah.
I expect a crown of fire of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
That'll probably be
Um,
bad with all my leaves.
Choose, go bald or wear crown of fire.
Always
wait.
wear a crown of fire.
Sorry, I meant those are the same result.
Yeah.
You're doomed.
You're doomed either way. That's
I guess-
the neat part.
I guess it depends on what the circles of the druids are, and I don't know if there are any cinder fire druids enclaves that are one of the four, but I don't know.
Guess we'll find out. I mean,
Or what do they
so
call
far-
it? Not cinder fire. What are those things called? The fire druids? Are they cinder fire?
wildfire.
Wildfire. Rats.
Wildfire.
My brain was like Dark Souls cinders.
I mean, so
Um,
far, so this one was clearly the water one. This was the water temple. The Vishti druids are air. Meadow druids are earth. We didn't get a fire one, did we? We didn't get a name for that, right?
No, because they're already in
right,
contact
because they're
with
in the
you.
desert. Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the.
Oh wait, I remember
Those
why.
are the ones in Starcross or near
Yeah.
Starcross.
I know why I said Cinder Flame or Cinder Fire. I did a one shot, and I played a wildfire druid who was addicted to coffee.
Yes.
His name was Alistair Cinderflame.
Oh my
Oh, okay. There
god.
you go.
That's why my brain did that.
And I was happy proud.
Oh, I love that character so much.
Oh, I forgot about that guy.
Happy Brand.
He was okay.
He's a
well,
professional.
this is getting off track,
There's
but
a
I was an
tangent for another time.
Little
Hey.
bit, little bit.
ASMR alchemist who was basically Peter Griffin that turned into a Dragon Ball Z character.
It was incredible.
As you
But-
do.
Yes, D&D. It's a wonderful
But
thing.
I will say for Ryan's question, because I wrote the little bits about like of the kind of four main, for like each god, what is the four main kind of circles, and wildfire is one of them.
Ooh. Crown
This
of
one was obviously moon because there's a goddess of the moon.
Yeah.
And
Is Ro the goddess of the moon? No, that's Moda, right?
That's
Moda's
Mota.
the moon.
Okay. Oh, but
And
is
our
Ro
belief
the
is-
druid goddess of the moon?
Like Ro created the moon.
Right.
The moon is connected to Ro.
Right. And
Mhm.
Ro is water and death, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I do have that written down correctly. Speaking of water, y'all, there's a portal, a plane of water just chilling in this place, and
No.
we didn't ask the druids about it at all.
That is correct.
No, we did not.
They probably would have lied to us anyways.
Yeah, probably. They were very fond of lying, apparently.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, what's this? A plane? Is this the plane of water? No, that is a giant soup, and we drink from it regularly. And we'd be like, insight. It's a giant soup.
Although, I mean, they did mention that like they, all the rest of the druids fled to the plane of water. So
That's true.
I don't know if that would be something they would have kept from us.
Still, though, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very neat.
Also, Lucky Adam got to be the one to look inside, check it out.
That was
Jeez.
so interesting. I loved how he like felt things
Yeah.
despite not having that capability by entering the plane of water. And it makes me think like, I don't know, like there's always been that discussion about like Abe's real body. I mean, that was before he disregarded the religion, discarded the religion, but I don't know. Maybe
I
like,
wonder...
maybe there's still some credence to that. And it's like, maybe he has that very, very deep past life memory of what it is to feel things. And that kind of like triggers it. I don't know.
I wonder if his previous devotion to Malden was kind of like numbing him
Maybe.
from feeling things. And now that he's free of that, maybe even in this Argon folk body, he can start to experience things more freely as
Yeah.
someone made of flesh and blood would.
I'm happy for Abe. You get to feel things.
Same.
It was a very interesting setting, a very interesting situation, because I was just like, they're all gonna go. Why wouldn't they? No, send the one guy who can breathe underwater. I'm like, oh, of course. So we just had this
Aha, we surprised you.
expedition of Abe just going through. And I'll admit, like, as we were going through that thing and it was like 6 hours later, I was like, I have to cut so much. Like, that area was a lot more dangerous than Abe's jaunt would lead you to believe.
Oh, you mean
Yeah, I
those
believe
crabs
that.
weren't friendly?
No,
Were
they
they
were never
gonna-
going to attack, but there were like a variety of other enemies that were in that area.
I'm just picturing every crab in Elden Ring. Like, every crab in Dark Souls.
Everything is Elden Ring.
It's a menace. I was picturing those little crabs that were just doing a little crab walk, becoming giant and just picking Abe up and slamming him against the floor.
You're like the Avengers Hulk smash with Abe. Just
Yeah. Just gives him the clamp and just bop, bop, bop.
yeah.
Give him the clamps!
Give him the clamps.
So were
I
there
think
like Sahuagin in there too that were like waiting?
No, this was more of like the denizens of the Enclave within that area, and also a slithering tracker, which are invisible underwater, so...
Wow,
Very
that's
cool.
evil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's a trick I can keep in my playbook of things to do for later.
That's
It was-
disgusting. I had no idea.
I think like there's something that was kind of interesting because that area wasn't hostile and it was like the area that was like submerged under the water, so it's kind of like untouched by this like corruption around everything else. Like the hostile areas in there were like that area when he got out of the water and it was all like fucking corrupted again. Unintentional, interesting, like thematic stuff.
I like that. I think honestly, I think it worked better that way.
Yeah.
Sort of like the water being the really only uncorrupted place within this temple.
It was very fascinating to me too. After I made the cuts, I was like, this is very different and I like this.
Yeah, like you've got the plane of water, which is covered by corruption, but the portal itself is clear. Then you've got that little part that we swam through, which was pretty clear.
I had assumed that the portal wasn't covered by corruption. I had thought that was like that the part of that was like kind of like whatever, like the like island trying to protect it, like whatever was left of the Shambling mound that is this island.
Yeah,
True.
I also got that sense.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah,
Is that correct,
makes
Denny, or
sense.
is Ryan correct?
You are correct in saying that it was the island's protection.
That's awesome. Love
Like
that.
the druids closing the door behind them after they left.
Exactly.
That's awesome. I love that. But yeah, the water was like the thing. It was the safe spot.
And I don't know if it clued into you guys too, but like when you went down to that second level and there was the way forward, the way to the right, and then a short way to the left, it was just like weapons and armor that were scattered on the floor, and it didn't open up until you explored to the right.
Yeah, we did realize that, but I think we were kind of in like the rush of let's keep going, that we didn't really pay it too much mind. But that was like an illusory wall, right?
Well, it's a shambling island.
Oh,
It decided to just close it off and just decided to open it up.
See,
Oh.
I had assumed it was an illusion, and that the reason when we went back it was open was because we saw the blueprints of like the island, and then I was like, oh, we know that's not real enough.
Oh, right. So you kind of just assumed you disillusioned it?
Yeah, I was like, oh, now that we know that that should be open, our brains don't see the illusion that's there.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a few shambling mounds that I'd planned, but I was like, we don't need these.
Yeah.
Shambling mounds within a shambling mound.
Oh, yeah. Shambling mounds on shambling mounds.
I was like, there was part of me that I was like, I'm surprised we haven't fought any shambling mounds. But I'm very glad we didn't, because like, oh boy.
Yeah, we had time for
Terrifying.
oozes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, that was such an interesting way of doing the dungeon too, like moving through it in like I guess real time, and then because that's not something that I've ever done in a D&D game. It's usually theater of the mind for most of it, and then certain set pieces or rooms that need to be explored or like trapped hallways will have a map or something like that. But to have the entire thing mapped out was insane, Denny.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you say that, it's like, maybe I should do that.
But, yeah, I will say I've done in the campaign that Denny played in of mine, I did that for the fire temple in my world. And it was huge. And after that, I was like, never again. It's so much fun as a player to play through like that. I will say as a player, I love that. As a DM, I'm like, this is so much work.
Yeah,
And
It is a lot, but we appreciate the effort you put in.
mhm.
of course.
Yeah, I've just like playing with Adrian, our other friend here. He does that every single time. And I'm just like, wow, I'm so inspired. It's just, this is the way it goes. And I'm like, why didn't I realize that that's not the way it has to be?
I like that you playing in an Adrian game think any of that is the way this goes.
You know what? You got me there.
Much love to Adrian.
I am
I love
playing a
how
naked
much-
mole rat police officer.
I do love how much he gets talked about in both like after parties and back in like the play dice or the speak dicely. So many stories about him.
Oh,
I
gosh.
think you know what needs to happen, Denny.
A speak dicely revitalization.
No, Adrian
I thought
has
you-
to guest on the show.
Oh, of course. Oh, God.
You know that
Yes.
it's getting derailed.
Oh, God, the panic. All right. I will talk
It's
with
gonna be
him.
Warforged.
Watch this. When he guests on this show, he'll be the most like pulled down, toned down he'll ever be. He'll be super serious. He will be completely against type.
Oh,
Be tragic. It'd be
Yep.
great.
oh, well. Does anyone have any other questions or topics of discussion about episode 24, the Shambling Island, before we move on to the next one?
Don't think so.
Very well. Then, bringing us to episode 25, capping the story, the lot of you had just opened this stone door leading into what we now know is like the boss room of this dungeon, and you all decided to kind of take an assessment, get your inventory, and go back and see about exploring a little more before you made that final commitment. And going back to the room with the snake, question for Logan. You scored a natural 20 with that animal handling on that snake. How did you feel about this moment? Did you think your ability to speak with animals but not able to hear back from them would be any useful in avoiding this fight?
I honestly was expecting that the snake was going to be like, because everything's been so corrupted around us. I was like, oh, fuck, like I'm going to try this, but this snake's probably like infected with whatever's infecting this island and this isn't going to work out. And I'm so glad it did. I got a snake buddy. I hope I run into the snake again. I hope he gets to like, now that the world is good, I hope the snake gets to like leave and enjoy its life.
Member of Cap's crew.
Yeah. You know, like Jesse was saying, he'll come back for the big like Avengers Endgame final battle moment. I just hope that snake comes back too.
It's like a little pirate hat, a little hook on its tail.
But that ability as a whole, like it was a really cool like flavor thing that I did not think would ever come up in like a very useful way. I thought it was only going to come up in ways like me trying to befriend a chicken at the start of the campaign. And then when it like came up in a way that I'm like, oh, this ability might like save our butts. And then it's so successful.
It
did. It did. That part did make me wish that we had looked in that room before using all our ointment up.
That's okay. It was going to be used one way or another.
Yeah, now you just got to find some gold and buy some potions again.
Plus, if, you hadn't rolled a natural 20, we probably would have had to fight the snake, and that ointment maybe would have saved our butts there, so...
Yeah, there was part of me that was like, oh shit, if this thing attacks me, it's me and Abe for probably a round or two before everyone else gets here.
Yeah. And in that case, do you think you would have retreated underwater or gone up on land?
I would have probably retreated like back through the water because that room was really small. I don't think there was anywhere to, and it's like that snake, I think, in the middle of the room pretty much had free reign to attack me anywhere.
Yeah.
It was a big boy.
Chunky lad.
Mm-hmm.
And then I like that it showed us the little secret passageway.
It was cool of it.
Yeah, it was like, I kind of was like worried like us resting there was annoying the snake. I was like, oh, maybe we should like just continue and go somewhere else so the snake can go back to its life. But no.
Yeah, I mean, there's something I like to do with my dungeons is like have denizens of the dungeon interact with things, whether that's treasure or the environment itself, to kind of give an example of what things do. Like the snake was able to sleep in that bowl. The that one slime that had the amulet inside it was a bit chonkier and a bit more lethargic than the others because it was healthy as heck. I like to drop these hints, and if anybody's like really observant, they might catch on to the clues of how the dungeon or items might work.
Yeah,
I'll say this, I'm not that I am not that observant.
Well, just know they'll be there if you decide to bite.
All right.
Or read too much into it and bite too hard.
Uh-oh.
It works in both ways. But yeah, it was a great moment. You guys got your short rest from that. And then, Rhea, you stuck your head into the bowl after cutting off a piece of vine and using it as kind of a component. And you received a vision. And describing it to Drac, Drac was kind of able to mostly confirm that this might have been the sky above the Rinzar peaks. Based on that description. Drac, you mentioned that there's a celebration that your village has once per year, which you and I know this is the celebration of Itmen Kiar, to celebrate the day when you guys can see the sky once in the year. So, what do you both think this vision might mean? Do you think the bowl might always show the same thing? And do you guys have any other thoughts on that?
For me, I think my assumption is the vision was like telling us where to go next. Like kind of like, my thought maybe was like me putting part of myself into it. It's like if it's like a divining bowl, it's divining about me personally, like my goals and quests. And it's like, this is where you need to go next. I did have a question for Anthony, and also like, I guess like Drac in the game is like, I can't remember if I'd asked this or we had talked about it during the session, but like that holiday, is it something coming up or is that like something that's already passed this year?
I was actually going to ask Denny that.
I can
because
tell you.
I couldn't tell, like, because I don't think it was a real-time vision. I don't think you were actually seeing the night sky above Ringsar Peaks at the very time that you looked in, right?
Your celebration of Itmen Kiar would have been like a couple of months ago, because we'd established that this was like the summer solstice for you guys. Like this is like the summer sun coming through, and
right.
in your inventory
Because,
you have jerky from that
I have
celebration.
jerky from that celebration, yeah. Because it's like the one day of the year that we could actually like dry our meats naturally rather than using, our like breath weapons to do it.
So that kind of makes me think that it was like, because part of me was also wondering, is it like telling me that like the only way to get to the Druid Enclave here is that one time of the year? But with the timeline we're currently kind of coming to with having to deal with these, I guess that is most likely not true. So I think it's just, for me, I think it's, what I'm getting is I think that like the tallest mountain there, because it felt like even being high up, like there was stuff about like, I think like it felt like the oxygen was thin or something. But I'm thinking like, yeah, we got to go to the tallest mountain.
Yeah, because you couldn't see any other peaks around you, right?
Yeah.
It was like
I also
straight up at the sky.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a good instinct to go off of.
So, let's watch our 0 strength party climb some mountains.
Oh, that is going to be a treat.
There's going to be no monsters that need to try and take us out. Our lack of upper arm strength.
I'll just wait a bit and come get us when we fall down.
I have a thought about what's the name of the holiday? Itmen Kiar?
Yeah.
Okay.
It means bright day. Bright day.
That's beautiful. I love that. So that is it's a clear like that's what I'm looking for. I'm thinking like the solstice and sort of things like that.
It's a proxy to that.
Yeah, it's something in lieu of that. And I remember what was it? It's like if you see like a certain light in the sky, then whatever bad shit is going to happen in this world is going to happen.
It's when the stars start to go out.
Yes, when the stars start to die out. For me, it's like, I think, I don't know, maybe Itmen Kiar has like maybe it's like the final star that burns out sort of thing. Like if there's an Itmen Kiar that doesn't come to pass, like you're too late. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I feel like that. I
wonder if it's saying like we have until next Itmen Kiar.
Yeah, right.
And that's when shit goes down. Look at Denny. Everyone look at Denny.
Yeah.
Look at him! Look at him!
I'm wondering. Yeah.
You'll never crack me.
That's my thinking right now. I feel like Itmen Kiar is like a timer. Because I feel like the druids do everything naturally. So like what better timer is there than a yearly cycle that occurs and
you're right.
Observe any changes to that, and judging by that you can conduct what you need to do for your rituals and stuff. That's my tinfoil hat, baby. Yeah, that's on.
My tinfoil hat for the start is that while people worship a crystal, this Midnight Sun group. I'm like, are they going to bring about somehow like a solar eclipse? It's like, you know, it's like you have the sun, Midnight Sun is like the opposite of the sun, something in front of it, and then it's like, oh, the stars start going out. That's the eclipse. The biggest star is just gone.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, I didn't even think
That's-
about solar
That's going to
eclipses.
be the end. Is like some big solar eclipse, and then we get like an eternal night.
Oh.
Yeah.
God, these. God, these Midnight Sun crew is it's just getting more and
Freaky.
more freaky the more we think about it. And I love it.
Yep.
This is exactly what I signed up for, Teni. It is what I wanted. Ah, perfect.
Well, let's see if you're right. Yeah, so any other further thoughts about the visions or anything like that? That was a pretty good conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I think that's everything.
It's just theories at this point.
It's just
right.
a theory.
Well, then after that situation, you guys got your short rest. Everybody got all prepared, and you went back to that door. And this might have been the first time that the group really thought strategically as they prepared to go into that hall. How do you guys think you did in preparation of this fight coming up?
Did pretty well considering what we had at
Yeah.
our disposal, like preparedness wise. Like the short rest didn't really do much for me. I don't know about you guys.
It helped
After the-
immensely.
After the ointment, it did like 8 more HP. That's what it did for me.
Yeah. I got my key points back and that was about it. So
It
but
gave me.
I did use those to good advantage in the fight, so
Yeah, you did. I got my action surge back. I got my second wind back. I got my
That was
grit
good for
points
you.
back. Full HP.
yeah.
It was huge for me.
Mhm. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
At least some of us benefited from it, because, like, that's why when I realized that we probably weren't going to get a short rest, I was like, I mean, really, that doesn't change anything for me. So,
Yeah, for me, it was like just the healing.
yeah.
I think, yeah, most of like my things that return are like, you know, things I can do on a long rest.
Same.
And those things are like the book that I can like write to give someone, which I'm just like, no, I'm just gonna let Abe keep the book. I don't want to spend like, it's like 80 gold or something to make a new one. I was like, nope. I don't remember the number. It might be less. I just pulled a number out of the top of my head. I remember it being enough that I'm like, this isn't going to be something I make often for people.
No.
Like I commit to one person, and maybe in the future I'll make Elowin one for a great sword, just because it's funny.
Well, I can cast Enlarge Reduce on her and make her a medium creature so that she can wield a great sword.
Oh yeah. Speaking of being able to cast high level spells, I guess you took level 5 cleric. What did you take?
I
Logan?
sure did.
You'll find
you,
out in the session, because people will watch this before that.
Ooh.
Oh,
Marketing.
Oh.
marketing.
The strongest D&D power.
Yeah. You'll find out
our
what my
CMO.
level 7 take is on the
I took
next
a-
episode of Play Dicely.
I took a level in advertisement.
Y'all already know.
New class called Madmen.
Fighter. Fighter 7.
Hell yeah. That's
Now I
We'll
can
say
make
this-
people drop prone.
This level up was a tough one to pick. I will say that for sure. Like, there's things like both like story things that have come up in the past, come up now that were like making me think different things. There's also just like, man, getting to level 8 would be nice, like in the long run, because we all know how long things take once you multi-class.
Yep.
Yes. Two of us are very aware.
Yeah, and getting because I have that big ass crossbow, getting crossbow expert is something that now has like become like a thing in the future, because right now, like, I can't use my extra attack as much as I'd like.
Right.
Oh, right, because you have to reload.
Yeah, I have to load the crossbow.
All right.
Yeah, because
Let's
you floated around, like, you tease the idea of artificer. Maybe that'll come to pass.
Yeah. Yeah, this idea that I'm just forging my own path ahead now.
Well,
tune in to find out.
If you
Done.
took the feat crossbow expert, you could ignore the loading property.
well, that's what he's saying. He's excited to
That's
get
what
to
I'm
level
saying.
8.
Oh,
Yeah,
I knew that. I was testing you.
Uh-huh.
Well, I'm pretty sure you were doing that to me on the last session of this.
Yep, probably.
All right, yes, yeah. So you guys went into that boss room, and a little fun fact for you guys, because you wouldn't have been able to see the entirety of that room, but it was shaped, like the entire room was shaped like a crescent moon. As a fun little Easter egg for you.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Good attention to detail there, Mr.
Yeah.
Dicely.
Nice.
Yes, Mr. Dicely, well done. You've
Yeah, I
done
keep-
it again.
I keep with my motifs and lore and stuff, and I incorporate it into architecture. Architecture. So, yeah, you guys
That
got
mural
into
was
the room.
Interesting.
I'm sorry.
That mural was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We will get to that.
Okay.
But so you guys ended up in that room, found that mural, and the room was just like coated in icky goo, and there was water and paths across this water. And then Gideon spotted the gob of a monster drop down, and the battle began. So, did you guys have any questions about how that fight worked? We did talk about this a little bit in the last one, but if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to hash over anything about that fight. Or if you guys have questions for each other.
I have
Nice.
a question about. So there was a part in the fight when it was like after I hit it really hard, it was like you would do better under my guidance. Did this thing have dominate person by chance?
You avoided dominate person.
When did it
That-
try to do that?
I don't remember being.
Because I remember it teleported next.
I remember
to
it
Gideon,
teleported, and then I had
then
my
it-
turn, and
it,
then I
like,
shot
left.
the shit out of it.
I mean, it did have spellcasting capabilities. It did hold person on Elowen as well.
True. I guess I scared it off with my actions. Yeah, it was a lot of domage.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, if it dominated person me, oh my, dominated. If it cast that spell on me, that would have been problematic for everyone.
This fight was so much like succeeding on the saving throws, like just me rolling low. It's like, come on, this is a boss fight. Where's my dice?
Because like, I assume it would be like try to kill your friends to the utmost capability.
Oh yeah.
So I would have been like, all right, sharpshooter. Grit
Yeah.
points. What's that aim? You have an axe? You're disarmed. It's in the water now. What do you want? Like, I would have been going ham on that.
It would have been beautiful. And then each of you, every time it targeted somebody with its big like psychic ability, everybody saved on that wisdom saving throw every single time. And I've explained what this would do in the other after party. Essentially, you would take a lot of psychic damage, and then you would begin to like Bane, roll a d4 and subtract it from any of your d20 rolls. If you got hit with it again, it becomes a d6 and just increases each time. So if it landed on somebody, it would have began harassing them with that ability.
Nice. Because I thought about it during the session. Like as soon as you said like you do better under my guidance, my brain was like, ooh, what fucked up thing from the past can I make Gideon think is happening to him right now? And it's the party's fault. Like I was just thinking like about what a horrible shit. Like trying to, I don't know, maybe there's a memory that resurfaces from the old event there, and I'm just be like, but it's your fault.
Yeah.
I was having a heyday thinking about all that stuff. But then I rolled, I don't know if you did it or not, but I remember a wisdom save targeting me that I rolled a 20 on, which was like, what? That's a natural 19. I don't do those.
The DC was 18 for its spells and abilities, and everybody was succeeding on everything. Like, that's also why the DC was 18 when you guys entered the dungeon, because it was this thing that caused that, like, anxiousness.
Oh my god! So I could literally roll an 18 and 19 or a 20 to succeed that. Wow, that's great. Oh, sorry, 17. So 4 numbers. So 20%. Or yeah. 20%. We got lucky
What did you
today.
think of it, Logan?
Oh, that was so cool. I love things that use like the second that it was like you were like, and on initiative 20, I was like, oh yeah, it has layer abilities. Like I love when enemies like their home is part of the fight. And yeah, there's like that moment where I was like, okay, we've seen like 2 or maybe we'd seen 3 of the 4, and I was like, bet you that next one's water. Like this water hasn't had something happen to it. I'm very glad that I was out of it at that point. That armor was super cool that I got, the Mariner's one, and like made things like really useful for this, because yeah, the second that wall came up, I was like, oh, we had like established earlier the way that like this platform like is like leveled with the water and it's like lapping on. I'm like, I bet it's clear underneath. Let's just dive in.
Yeah, it was brilliant. We were so strategic, and like our rolls were so good. Like I think when it targeted me with that effect, like my first roll, I rolled like a 4, and I was like, inspiration.
Oh, that's right.
I was the only one who didn't like pass it on my first roll, so
It never got around to trying it on me.
yeah.
I was just like always slightly away from it. I kind of ended up in a nice spot on that little island.
Yeah, it worked out.
It worked
Yeah,
out.
it worked out really well, where I was like right in the middle, so I could like give people help. And it just like kind of left me alone.
And I also thought it was cool that Anthony got the tremor sense off when I was like, it's invisible, and you're like, do I feel it? And I'm like, you do.
In that moment, I was like, oh, I should just like huck Elowen away from me. Just pick her up and throw her. And I was like, no, I'm gonna breath weapon instead and burn some of it. Yeah.
Like, was she still held at that point? Because it would have sucked if your throw like you like okay. Because I was just now picturing like you throw her and she just falls into the water, drowning. You can't do anything.
Toss me.
Go get him! Splash.
Just throw her at the creature.
Yeah.
I think it's over there.
Gets batted away by one of its tentacles. Just falls into the water.
That's so mean.
Pull.
Oh,
that'd be awful. But so.
But yeah, I'm glad I didn't throw her, because I don't know. Would you have counted that as like a forced movement if she had been willing?
I try to remove throwing as an option of action in combat, because there's movement and there is action.
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit of a cheesy thing to manage, so it's kind of like, if there's a situation where it makes sense to throw somebody and like say you're needing to clear a gap, it's like, sure, of course. But in combat, as the game of it, it's like, I don't know if I want to deal with that as a DM.
Fair enough. Okay.
I prefer people move on their turn.
Yeah.
Because then you get barbarians throwing gnomes at people.
Yeah.
As fun as that is.
As fun as that is.
I mean, the last time I allowed a player to throw another player was in the last campaign for this, where Adam threw Nick, who was a halfling, who ended up killing my antagonist, having both of his legs broken, and then a beholder came down and killed the lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. That was so much fun.
it's just like,
yeah, I feel like if you got thrown at someone really hard, shit's gonna hurt.
Like you're taking damage as much as they're taking damage.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
not that Anthony's example was for the purpose of damage, but it's just like, I'd rather people move on their turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the fact that I got to use my tremor sense in a useful way.
So I'm glad you asked about it, though. There's so many things for me to keep track of.
Yeah, of course, dude.
Um,
Yeah, that fight was sweet.
That
It definitely felt like, because before the session started, you had said to us like, "Hey, we've had a conversation about this. We're all okay with death. It might happen, so prepare yourselves." And that fight felt like it was too easy for the conversation that we had.
honestly, I was like, well, fuck. it was
Yeah, it's the dice.
it was the dice. The dice came in.
The dice said.
The dice said
"Not today."
this is a story of heroes we're telling today.
Yep.
And oh boy, did we feel like heroes, especially because like things in that dungeon kicked our butt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People went down. People were like pretty low on health multiple times. So it did kind of feel like, as you had said, like it was like one of the first moments where we were like tactical. Like we like kind of like felt like we like talked as a group. We like figured stuff out. It kind of feels like all those things we had talked about before were finally paying off. And then for the dice to be like, oh yeah, you're gonna kind of like succeed at this pretty spectacularly. It's like a nice feel-good moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta savor those while they come, because dragons will appear in our future, I'm pretty sure, and we all know how breath weapons go.
Yeah. You want to talk about dice? Well,
Yeah. For real. But yeah, I can see like that fight really like cementing, or helping us cement a better relationship as a group too, because we talk so much, as you said, Logan, about being more tactical together, working on strategy, and Abe in particular has brought this up several times about like we need to talk about our roles in combat, and I think we all played our roles very well in that combat. So hopefully we all feel a little bit more strong as a group, more
Yeah.
confident in each other.
And I mean, like, in also the ways where it was like, this should have, like you said, it kind of felt easy. This is probably, considering like the role that this creature played, like something from the void that has been corrupting this island, and you guys dealt with it so expertly. Like, that's got to be a huge morale boost.
Especially learning what we learn after the fact of the
Mhm.
battle.
Hopefully it doesn't make us too cocky.
Well,
True.
We'll find out.
well, if Gideon bites it, y'all know my backup plan.
I'm sad I didn't get to take a trophy from that thing, because it kind of just got sucked away. But I feel like there wasn't anything physical to take from it.
I don't know if you want to carry any of that around.
Yeah, that might be very, very bad for your health.
you found some.
Drac becomes a cleric of the void.
The cleric of the filth.
He's just metal.
Sledge boy.
What is it?
Sludge boy.
Deathocalypse? Apocalypse? No, what is it?
Met-
Metalocalypse.
Yeah,
Yeah,
All of the above.
yeah. Gotta
Yes.
take a level bard too.
absolutely.
Yeah, so that was the fight, and then afterwards, it's basically got sucked up behind that mural where apparently a relic of sorts was being kept, and you found Archdruid Shisumi and Keeper Undini. So the Archdruid told you all a bunch of info about the Void. Azariah learned about the circumstances of their birth and the relationship with the Void. You learned about a prophecy of omens to look out for once time to find these druids and awaken them for this ritual. And then later in the session, Azariah goes back into the Enclave to think and take in the place, and ends up speaking with Shisumi. So I have a question for Logan. How is Azariah feeling about everything that was learned after that fight, and about all the realizations about the Void and your own connection to it?
I think it's weighing on them pretty hard. I think now they're like, do I not have a soul? Am I not even actually a real person? Like, yeah, a lot of stuff like that going on. Like, also because, you know, there was like, when they previously died, they were, you know, part of them was like, oh, do I not come back? And I was hearing everyone else's stuff being like, okay, I come back. But going into that fight being like, you know, if I die, just let me die. Like, you know, I'll leave it up to you. Like, I'm kind of fine either way. And now I'm like, I cannot die. Because something bad will happen or I'll become a monster. I think that's what like my worry is like, if I die, I'll become like some weird now, like sludgy void creature. So yeah, I think there's a lot going through their head. But
Yeah. Did anybody else have any thoughts about that?
I was like, I was so, what's the word I'm looking for? I just thought it was so fucking cool that Azariah's backstory being unveiled, like just the whole concept that they were created from, it was like talking about like creating a clay sculpture, but they didn't have enough materials, and so they went over here and grabbed some more, and I was like, that's such a neat little picture for me. But then of course you mentioned like when Azariah dies, like a little bit of this material goes back to the void, and I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, is Azariah gonna have to like get themselves like killed a few times in a row and like brought back repeatedly, and maybe I wonder what happens each time you die. Do you have like a set number of times now? Like I don't know.
I don't think I should be testing out that theory.
Yeah.
I think that's
Especially not with like the home roll we're using of fading spirit too.
Yeah. Like I just figure like even without if the fading spirit rule wasn't a thing, I figure that like Azariah's got like two or three
in and out.
Yeah, like I feel like if you die again, like what do you lose next, you know?
I
Like,
wonder if it's harder for me to come back. Like I don't know what the role truly is for bringing me back, but I'm like, part of me is like, you know, is it like there was a lot of really good character things said to like help bring me back. I was like, is it just harder too? Like I don't know.
maybe.
Soul needs more convincing because it's also
Yeah.
being yanked on by the void.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's very
Only
scary.
Teni knows, and only
Mhm.
time will tell.
I'm
Yep.
just picturing like God, I'm gonna picture Elden Ring again. Sorry. I've consumed so much of it recently. But the final boss
Those are spoilers for anyone who's not finished the game.
spoilers
The
for
plenty
Elden
of
Ring.
people who have not finished the game. Yeah, Anthony is like, good job.
It's a good thing
I
you
haven't
said
said
spoilers.
anything yet. I haven't said anything yet. So spoilers for the final boss of Elden Ring, specifically the first phase. I picture if Azariah dies enough times, they'll look a lot like Radigan, who's like partially there physically, partially there like ethereally, and like they'll just be some horrible mess of existence. And that's sort of what I'm picturing right now. But anyways, hey Anthony.
Welcome
Bye,
back.
Hey bro, you're gonna love it. I'm so excited for you.
I don't like plan on playing it, but maybe if I do.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
All right, well at least go listen to the music, because holy shit.
Okay.
I mean, what's interesting too is like, and I don't know if you want to talk about this at all, Logan, but that first time you died, you were like, "Did I experience anything?" And I was like, "Oh yes." And I gave you this sensation of what happened, though Azariah doesn't quite like fully remember like what the soul went through. But I think even then you began to be like, something's wrong.
Yeah, because it was like something like like black waters or something, like just like falling in deep, and like as I was getting pulled out, like something else was trying to like reach for me into this. I don't know if you use the word void, but void is now the perfect word to describe it.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like an afterlife that is usually what one wants.
No, definitely not my belief of what the afterlife's supposed to be. I'm supposed to become another thing, or if my life has been good and I've fulfilled my thing, I become a star.
Yeah.
I want some damp warlock reaching out of the water to grab you.
Yeah.
You leave my damn warlock out of this.
I don't need no wet warlocks in here.
By the way, go check out Imperfect Librarians on Twitch.
Yeah.
I played a damp warlock.
A wetlock.
A wetlock.
A wetlock out of wetlock.
Oh shit.
Bars. Sorry.
Tying back in a question to the whole group, how do you all feel about that prophecy that Shisumi had kind of passed on? And will it affect your character's sense of urgency, even though the omens have not yet started? I can go over what that prophecy was again.
Please do.
The skies will tell of the coming darkness. The stars will begin to fade in the night sky. The river will cease flowing. And then the darkness will set its sight upon Mota.
Sorry, it's the river, singular?
The river will cease flowing.
Oh,
The
shit.
river. Oh,
That's
shit.
different. That means something else.
River.
I wonder if the river isn't about like, it's like the stars are like something we naturally see, but I'm wondering if the river is like the flow of magic.
Yeah,
I think that's what they're
Yeah.
talking about.
Remember
because
the-
they did the
The
rivers of
ley line.
The ley lines.
Yeah.
Ley lines. Yep. It's all connected, man.
Oh boy.
Shit, dude.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
Denny used the word to describe ley lines. Specifically, he used river.
Yep. The
Ah,
river of ley.
Yeah. Also, I
Oh,
love
boy.
how you described ley lines. That was beautiful. Fuck. Oh God.
Yeah.
God, I hope
Like-
the rest of the cast watches this. Oh boy.
Don't
Or
get
did
spoiled
they-
for Elden Ring, but watch it.
Drac was already kind of feeling a bit of urgency even before going to this enclave, because anything that feels like world ending to him is because he already feels like he has a timer on stuff with his brother and like his family back home. Like he needs to get things figured out and fast. So, and this is obviously something that he signed himself up for, so he's already feeling the urgency. I think the prophecy just kind of doubles him down on that.
Yeah. With Gideon, like, with sort of his past and the years that I sort of wrote a short little blurb about before he met you guys, he was like feigning happiness, I guess, and being sort of like, you know, I'm fucked. I can't figure this shit out at all. I tried, and we've made no progress. And like, now that he's figured some things out, but you know, it's just opened up more questions. He's like, okay, good, we have something at least. But you know, at the end of the day, like, there's still a lot of that misery there within him. And I just remembered from, I think it was episode 24. There was a discussion about death, like what to do if a certain amount of people die and blah 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 blah. And basically y'all were talking it out, and then I was like, Gideon will stay and fight, period. And then y'all were like, well, what if you die? What are we to do? And everybody was saying their piece, and I was just thinking that whole time, I was like, what does Gideon feel about death? Like. And then I just opted to stay silent that whole time, because I genuinely don't think he knows. He can't give you a straight answer if he wants to come back or not. I think he just kind of views it as like a sleep without nightmares, which would be something new for him. And it's like, I don't know, bro. I think he's he has a purpose with this group, like a healthy purpose, which is why you haven't seen him sell anything in a long time, because he's like, I have a purpose, like a very defined one, and it's this group. So yeah, he's very just whatever the group needs, basically. I personally don't have a timeline. He's still like kind of given up on the whole figuring out what's going on in Balesville thing, but he'll do it if he can. But he's like everybody else first, because world's gonna end. So what's one city? I guess that's it.
What about you, Logan?
Wait, what was the original question?
The original question was, how do you feel about the prophecy, and has it changed your urgency?
Okay, because I was gonna start talking about thoughts of death, because that's what Ryan was. I was like, I don't think that was the question.
It was a very
he brought it back.
detailed tangent to make my way back.
No, I was very invested in what you were saying that I forgot what the original question was. I think it absolutely, for me, the urgency has ramped up. Before, it kind of felt like, oh, we'll do a temple and then do someone else's stuff, and this can take a bit of time. The temples are important, but I don't know, I don't think the first when we first heard about them, we just knew it was coming eventually. But I was like, there's probably a lot of prophecies about the world ending that this isn't going to be. And now it's oh, maybe we have a year, maybe even less, any day now. Part of me is almost imagining that also because now we've dealt with something that the darkness is probably now aware. So I'm expecting shortly we're probably going to see some stars go out, and then we have that 3 to 6 month timeline, because I can't imagine we're getting away with killing one of these things and freeing one of these temples without the void coming back for us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely going to accelerate its plans, whatever it is.
I feel like
I almost wonder is if we do the next as we do things that deal with its plan, will that timeline will getting the next temple, will we see more things happen?
Yeah,
or we'll start ramping it up. So I kind of part of me is let's just deal with all of this fast.
Yeah.
Then we can go and kill Adam's not a bird god.
Not a bird. Definitely not.
Cool.
How about you, Denny? What are your thoughts on the prophecy? Can you spoil it?
I feel urgent.
Do you feel we should be feeling urgent?
Oh man, I'm feeling pretty urgent. Wow.
Wow. Oh
Crazy.
Boy.
You're not getting a lick out of me.
Yes, sir.
And now to jump backward a bit. Immediately after the fight and that conversation with Shizumi happened, some of you examined the mural a bit more. And so for Anthony, it depicted dragons that Drac wasn't familiar with. How is he feeling about that new information?
Said they were gem dragons or something?
Yeah, they're
the exact description.
They were dragons that had elements of themselves that kind of floated away from the body.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. It's very cool. Drac doesn't really know how to process that yet, because it's literally just a picture.
Yeah.
And it didn't really remind him of anything from home. So to him, he's like, these are some weird dragons, but he's learned to kind of accept the things that are strange about the world outside his home. And he will probably learn more information as it becomes available. So,
well, does he have any thoughts about dragon iconography within a druid enclave?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting for sure. honestly, I haven't given it much thought because I've been busy. So,
Fair.
but yeah, I think he will probably, maybe he'll talk to Rhea about it in the next session on the road.
Nice. Did either of you, Logan or Ryan, have any thoughts about the mural?
Gideon had zero thoughts about the mural. Because he's like, I'm just a kid from Balesville. I don't know shit about dragons, except that they were a problem before. But me, I'm like, it's again to that point of interconnectedness. Boy, that's a fun word to say fast. Yeah, it's building to something. I don't know what, but it's that I feel like there's a lot that's gonna be. We're gonna have our minds blown at some point, like something huge, and I am so excited for it. It's gonna be, I think, a convergence of everything.
Yeah.
Even from like the previous game, probably something from then to now. I don't know. It's a lot to think about.
Logan, what are your thoughts on the mural?
Yeah, so like when I had asked about it, and I was like wondering, oh, are the dragons like feeding this darkness or fending it off type thing, or whatever this creature was? Because it was 4 dragons, me, the player, was like, oh, that's like how many dragons were in charge in the Desolation and stuff. And I was like, is this like going all the way back to like the last campaign stuff? Like, are these? And then when it was like, oh no, these dragons are like protecting things, I was like, oh, see, like all comes back to that. Not everyone is just good or bad. Like this, like, yeah, not all dragons are just evil assholes that want to enslave us and eat us.
What if though those dragons depicted were protectors and then became the ones that took over the world?
Oh,
That'd be so cool.
Man, we might be in the darkest timeline then, because I think we're going to need some 4 dragons to protect us in the end.
Yep. That makes me. Oh, that's so cool.
And I mean, the dragons from the last campaign weren't like, apart from one black dragon, none of them were normal in the lore. Like they weren't like your typical, just
they
here's
have
your D&D
floaty
dragon.
stuff around them.
No.
Okay.
No.
Maybe they lost their floaty stuff when they became evil.
They one was like a magma dragon. Like they weren't your typical.
Magma.
Yeah, that was our big boss last time.
Magma.
Big old magma dragon.
Magma. Yeah. Yeah, that dragon was cool.
But yeah, I think like getting back to that, like seeing this here just kind of in like, the shared names of gods, like really starts to make that whole like, yeah, like our belief systems aren't like, there's like truths in all of them type thing. Like we clearly each have like part of the story, over generations and generations, things have probably shifted in different ways.
100%.
It's gonna get crazy. Long story short.
Yeah.
And none of you or us are prepared.
Danny's prepared.
Well, Danny's prepared.
I have to be. At least somewhat. A little bit.
Just a wee bit.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, did anyone have any like final thoughts about the dungeon as a whole? What was your favorite thing you encountered in the dungeon, whether it's like monster, lore, or puzzle?
I loved the little disease balls. Or sorry, the big disease balls. I don't know what else to call them. I'm gonna
That's their
steal that.
in-canon name, right, Teni?
Oh, yeah.
Disease balls?
Go to the monster manual and look up disease ball. You'll get it.
Please
Right
don't
on.
look up disease ball.
Don't
Yeah,
go to
don't
Google.
go. Do not
Anywhere.
Google that.
Do not
No.
Google that. That will not be kind to you. I'm sure the FBI will put you on a watch list. Please do not Google that. Yeah. Anyways, that thing.
The fun,
I
yeah,
think-
the fungi were very fun to use because it's like they're not a huge threat combatively, but the lingering effects. I remember back to the first session I ran in 5th edition, or one of them anyway. I used yellow mold in a dungeon, and Adam Brewer was the one who was like, "Don't touch that, don't do it," and somebody lit it on fire, much to the detriment of the party, and it was like, oh boy, here we go. Or no, they touched it because fire is actually the way to kind of get rid of it. But yeah, it was a fun time. Somebody almost died from mold.
Yellow mold is awful.
Yeah, mold in D&D in general is like, it's always a bad time.
Just plant life in general, honestly.
Yeah.
Open up the Tomb of Annihilation book. Ugh, there are plants that make zombies. Like,
Yeah.
ugh. I think they're also yellow. Yellow plants and moss. And just steer clear of all of that.
Yellow's my favorite color.
I think my favorite part of the dungeon was just kind of the theme of it. Like this very obviously once beautiful place being corrupted by goopy bad guys. And
That's
just kind of-
also the canon name of that monster.
Big goopy boy.
And just like something that, you know, everything it touches becomes rotted is always a fun kind of theme to play with. So, good job there.
Yeah, I think like for me it was kind of just the entirety of it. I think also being so connected to my character's backstory. It was just like all of it. I was like, oh boy. Especially because I did not think like, you know, making this character, I did not expect that their personal connection to what feels like kind of like there's like an A plot, like this is the big thing we need to do. I did not think that like I was gonna like have that, and now it's like, oh boy, this feels very personal, having to do all of this stuff, which I love.
Which
Feels so cool.
Which is crazy considering you're the first one to die and could have potentially been out of the campaign.
Yeah, yeah. The person with like the hardest connection to all of this stuff. It's like, oh, they're dead.
Yep.
Man, there's a good chance that, you know, the other side tracks would have happened then.
Yep.
I like the, like, honestly, I think those moments, like the moment with like the snake, the moment with Jolly. Like I love moments in dungeons where you get like a sense that this isn't just like like things exist here. Like I love dungeons that have like factions in them and stuff. So getting those moments of like life in the dungeon where it's like something's not hostile. Something has to, like, a dungeon existed for a reason and something's made it its home. Or in this case, like, you know, other people are going to explore this place if it's a place filled with, you know, potential magic items and rare relics. It's like, oh yeah, it totally makes sense that another group would be trying to get these things.
Yeah. And for me, I loved, of course, the very scary book encounter in the dungeon. That was definitely my favorite part. But yeah, honestly, there was so much to love about this dungeon. I could talk about it for a long time. Basically, it was just like the embodiment of like sort of the state of the world is in. Just like the entropy that it's experiencing. Just that slow decay into disorder. And it's like, fuck, this is what's happening. This is what we're trying to fix. And it was just a nice, perfect representation of why we're doing what we're doing in this world. To sort of just reaffirm our goals, basically, as players, which is a good thing.
Well, I gotta give big shout outs to Matt Costin for helping me come up with the concept of this dungeon. I think it was like, and I'm pretty sure I've said this on one of the episodes before, but it was like episode 4 where I was like talking with Matt. I was like figuring out like what is our grand quest here. And we were talking about the druids and stuff. I was like, well, I have like rough concepts for each of these dungeons. And he's like, well, what about a shambling mountain that's an island? I was like, that is brilliant. So this total concept is like his brainchild. I just designed the
Matt.
thing.
Let's go, Matt.
Let's go, Matt.
It was so crazy. I was like, yeah, this is the dungeon. Did you guys, when you headed to Ganry, did you realize that once you got out into the fog that you'd be finding a druid enclave out there?
No.
I mean, we knew there was something out there in the Gulf.
Mhm.
Like, that was the reason we were going there. We weren't just going out there to fight a dragon for no reason. So,
Sure we were.
well, you were, maybe.
What? No.
But,
I was actually, Gideon was pretty outspoken about not fighting the ghost dragon.
yeah. But yeah, I think, like, I expected something, for sure. Like, as a player. I don't know if Drac did at all.
Yeah, I expected something in the fog, but I thought that we were going to find what we were looking for beyond the fog.
Like, we would go further out
We go
towards
through
the
it
ocean.
entirely. Like we would cross the body of water to the opposite
Oh,
shore. That's
interesting.
not very explored.
So go to, like, one of those ruins
Yeah.
across the way. Near Greghorn Mountain.
Yeah. Teni, you're muted.
I just realized that. It's funny because like I feel like I've come to rely so heavily on Christy like taking really good notes as a player, so it's like kind of like helping kind of guide you guys in a way. But I don't think she was quite there yet in episode 4 when I gave you this quest from Renan, where it's like these 3 areas: the Rinzar Peaks, the Smoky Gulf, and the Wildeglen Wetlands. He was like, you got to find the other druids, learn the stories of those areas. Maybe I didn't spell it out correctly.
That's one of the biggest notes I have. I
Yeah.
constantly go back to that note.
That's like the main clue, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like, go talk to people, you fools.
But
Won't find it yourself.
do you feel like that quest has kind of become a bit more like cemented in what the want is?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, for me, yeah.
Yeah, feels more. I think like when we were told it also, it's like, why us? Like we're just nobodies, and now it's like, okay, we're good at things. Like, you know, maybe we are the right people for this. We seem to like care about the problems going on everywhere. Like, yeah.
And it's like very obviously connected to you, Logan and Rhea. And then, you know, the more we do this, the more we realize it's also connected to the rest of us. Because if our theory about Kardrak is correct, then Kardrak is a wielder of the void. Kardrak clearly has something to do with Balesville, which ergo connects him to Gideon, which connects right back to the Druid Enclaves. So it's all connected, man.
There's a vast spider web of just connecting events.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if like, just in what ways, like, because I can't imagine that like if there's this big void that's like such this like almost like, you know, in my mind it feels like it's almost like a natural entity, like, you know, it's like existed since the universe has existed type thing, that like it doesn't have like its fingers in like everyone's little things. Like I'm sure that at some point this void will come in relation to Malden, and somehow with Christie's stuff, like, but it's got some stuff with whatever's made her like not just a wild magic happened, but like a time stop of like infinite scale.
Yeah.
No.
Just really excited to hop back into this game as soon as possible. Just
Honestly,
keep going.
so
Alright.
much stuff.
Just
Raring to go.
five more days.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
gosh.
Oh God, I just had a thought about Balesville.
Save it for
Remember-
the game.
Remember? Okay, but like,
Well, go ahead. You might as well.
but it's here now. It might leave. So, anyways, so
That is how your brain works. Yep.
that is how my brain works. I have to cement it in there unless I want it to leave.
You need it
So
documented.
I gotta write it somewhere, and then I gotta
Alright, what
read
is
it a
it?
couple times. Okay, we'll
Yes.
get there. So remember in Bealsville, there was that thing. There was the telepathic link between Elwyn and Azariah, and then there was something that was just kind of vibing, being like, "Hey, I know this is private, but hey, it's not private." So
Yeah.
I wonder if that thing may or may not be void related, due to
Probably.
Azariah's connection to it.
Oh
wonder.
shit. Oh no. I thought it was like Kardrak Mithril Coat related, but
Yeah.
now that also makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Could that happen anytime?
Oh, fuck.
What if it's always happening and we've just gotten used to it? Like because it happened there, we've just like it's like a background thing that like we just haven't noticed. Like, oh yeah, connection with Azariah is weird.
Maybe.
Who
There's that,
knows?
or like maybe Balesville is like this sort of. Again, an event happened there, and we don't know what the thing is, but like maybe that is like it just kind of established a firm connection to the void in like this particular region, and just maybe something horrible happened, which got cleaned up, and yeah, just maybe the land is still connected to the void. There's no real way to sort of lock it in a box and say don't worry about that, it's just gone now.
Or whatever did the event is still there.
Yeah, just hanging out, and it's
Just
part of the
chilling.
void. And that's just awful to
Oh,
think
boy.
about. Oh boy, I hope the rest of the cast watches this.
Well, that seems like a great theory to begin wrapping things up on. So, before we do that, though, we do have one more question, which Ryan and I answered during the last session. So this will be for Anthony and Logan. The fun question for this week: what was the moment that got you hooked into D&D and tabletop RPGs?
I have my answer ready, Logan, if you need a second.
I've also got mine, but you go.
You go first, my friend.
Okay, so what got me hooked on tabletop RPGs, and I've actually said this on a Speak Dicely and stuff, is that when I was 10 years old, my dad was like, hey, I played D&D when I was 10. This is when I learned. Here's my AD&D books. And gave me those, and he's like, read those, and then we'll play D&D. And then, I've just been hooked ever since. My dad constantly tells the story of when after the first time I played and he was walking me to school and I was trying to explain D&D to my friends, and I was like, oh, I played this amazing game called D&D, and they're like, oh, is it what console is it on? I was like, no, it's not a video game. And they're like, oh, okay, is it like Pokemon cards or something? I was like, no, it's not a card game, it's not anything like that. And they're like, well then where what is it? What are the graphics then or whatnot? And I was like, the graphics are in your head.
Oh.
And my dad's like, yeah, I raised my son right.
Oh, I
Your
love
dad
that story.
sounds awesome.
Yeah. I love
Sounds
that
like a
story
good
too.
guy.
And yeah, I've been now playing D&D for almost 20 years. Holy crap, I'm almost 30.
Yeah.
Wow.
Soon you shall join me.
Yeah, because it was my birthday was I got whatever stuff I wanted, but it was part of my birthday was it wasn't the books he had, because we went through old bookstores in Hamilton looking for these, because he didn't have his old books. So I remember going to old bookstores with him, and it was finding used copies that weren't like, because on the internet even then it was like ridiculously expensive to get.
Wow, that's surprising.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Raised in a nerd family, here I am.
Well done.
You turned out all right.
You're okay. What about you,
good,
Anthony?
Kid, real good.
My first experience with it, because like Christy watched Critical Role for a while before either of us started playing, and then like my first exposure to it was at a cottage with some of our friends, Teni included, and Teni ran a one-shot for some folks, and I didn't play, I watched, because I didn't really know what was happening. I was like, I don't know, I'll just watch, because I didn't want to like mess it up or anything, you know, because I didn't know anything about the game at that point. And just watching Teni like weave the story through just got me hooked. I was like, I want to do what he's doing. So my first time I played, I DM'd, I did not play. And
Nice.
yeah, so big love out to Teni here for getting me into D&D.
It's so freaking touching, man.
Yeah, I love you, buddy.
Oh, I love you too. It's I feel like it's so seldom that, unless it's like of the necessity of a group, that a player's first time is as the dungeon master. So it's like, kudos to you for just like wanting to hop into that role.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, great job.
Well, does anyone else have any more thoughts before we wrap up today's discussion? It's looking like no's all around the table.
No. Think I'm good.
Good.
All right. Well, thank you, the three of you, for joining us for this tonight's session. And thanks to all of you out there so much for hanging out with us as we discuss our thoughts and feelings on these past few episodes. If you have any questions about Play Dicely, be sure to send your questions to @CBKClo on Twitter, or you can email them to Christy at cbkclo@gmail.com. And that is all for us this time, and we invite you to join us next time on Play Dicely After Party. Goodbye!
Bye.
Bye now.
See ya.